So before we dive into today's topic, I need you all to grab some tissues because what I'm about to share with you is absolutely heart-wrenching. We're talking about the Duggar sisters, Jinger, Jessa, and Joanna, and their incredibly brave decision to open up about something so personal and painful that it'll literally break your heart. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Duggar family? Really? Look, I get it. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding this family over the years. We've covered it all on this channel, the scandals, the criticism, the debates about their lifestyle choices. But today we're putting all of that aside because what these three women have gone through transcends any family drama or public opinion. What am I talking about? Well, on July 9th, something unprecedented happened. All three sisters sat down together for the Jinger and Jeremy podcast, and they did something that took incredible courage. They opened up about their pregnancy losses. And guys, when I tell you this conversation was raw, emotional, and absolutely devastating, I mean it. Let me start with Ginger's story because honestly, it's going to hit you right in the feels. Picture this. You're about 6.5 to 7 weeks pregnant. You're excited. You've just announced your entire family on a Zoom call because remember, this was during the pandemic when everyone was doing virtual gatherings. You're living your best life in LA, probably thinking everything is perfect. Then, that same night, everything changes. I was just like, oh, it's probably fine, Jinger recalled during the podcast. She mentioned that she started experiencing spotting and initially tried to reassure herself that some people go through this and everything turns out okay. But deep down, she knew something wasn't right. It ended up that was the night when it all turned into, what's happening? Can you imagine? One moment you're celebrating this incredible news with your family, and the next you're facing every expectant parent's worst nightmare. Jinger, who's now 31 and recently welcomed her third child in March, admitted that because her first pregnancy was perfect, she genuinely believed that everything was going to be fine. This miscarriage happened back in 2019, and what makes it even more heartbreaking is how it shattered her confidence about future pregnancies. She feared she would never have a healthy pregnancy again. Thank goodness she was wrong about that, but the trauma of that experience? That stays with you forever. But wait, it gets even more emotional. Let's talk about Jessa's experience, and I'm warning you right now, this is going to be tough to hear. Jessa, who's currently pregnant with her 6th baby, can you believe it? Shared not one, but 2 miscarriage experiences. The first one happened in 2020 when she and her husband Ben Seawald were attending a wedding. Imagine being at what should be a joyous celebration, and then this happens. I went to the bathroom and there was so much blood, Jessa shared. The raw honesty in her voice was palpable. She continued, I was crying and we're about to go into this wedding and you feel, to some degree, that you have to pull it together cause you've traveled and you're here. This breaks my heart because it shows how women often feel pressured to hide their pain and pull it together, even in the most devastating moments. Like, here she is, going through this traumatic experience, and she's worried about not ruining someone else's special day. The strength it must have taken to get through that wedding. But that wasn't the end of Jessa's heartbreak. 2 years later, when she was 32, she experienced her second miscarriage at 12 weeks. This one was particularly cruel because it was what's called a missed miscarriage. Let me explain what this means for those who might not know. A missed miscarriage is when the baby stops developing, but your body doesn't recognize it right away. You don't have the typical signs and symptoms that something has gone wrong. Your body basically hasn't caught up to what's actually happening. Jessa went to the doctor and learned that her baby hadn't had a heartbeat for weeks. Weeks. Can you imagine carrying that hope, that excitement, thinking everything is fine, only to discover that your baby had been gone for so long? It was a missed miscarriage, which means you don't have the signs and symptoms that something has gone wrong and your body hasn't really caught up. There were lots of different layers to that. Just like, no, we've made it to the second trimester. You're supposed to be safe once you get there. That last part really gets to me. The belief that once you reach the second trimester, you're in the safe zone. It's something so many women cling to, and when that safety net is pulled away, it's absolutely devastating. For context, Jessa is a mother to 5 children, Spurgeon 9, Henry 8, Ivy 6, Fern, 3, and George, 18 months. Despite having these beautiful, healthy children, the pain of those losses never really goes away. Now, let's talk about Joanna's story, which is perhaps the most heartbreaking of all. Joanna recently paid tribute to her stillborn child, and hearing her speak about this experience on the podcast was absolutely gut-wrenching. She described how her second pregnancy had started as a great pregnancy. Everything seemed to be going perfectly. She and her husband, Austin Forsyth, were probably over the moon, planning for their growing family. But at 17 weeks, their world was turned upside down when they delivered their stillborn daughter, Annabell, in 2019. 17 weeks, you guys. That's well into the second trimester. By that point, you're showing you might have felt the baby move. You're probably picking out names and planning the nursery. The devastation of losing a child at that stage is unimaginable. Joanna shared something that really opened my eyes about the physical aftermath of pregnancy loss. It doesn't matter at what gestation. Your body still thinks that you're pregnant. Even if you're mentally struggling, physically, your body is struggling because it's wrecked your system. It takes a long time physically for your body to recover from that. This is something that I think people don't always understand. When you lose a pregnancy, it's not just the emotional trauma, though that's obviously huge. Your body has to physically recover from what it's been through. Your hormones are all over the place. You might still have physical symptoms of pregnancy, even though there's no baby, and you're dealing with all of this while trying to process the emotional grief. What struck me most about this podcast episode was how these three women supported each other through sharing these experiences. They didn't just talk about their own losses. They listened to each other, they empathized, they created this safe space where they could be vulnerable about something so personal. And guys, I want to take a moment here to address something important. I know there are mixed feelings about the Duggar family. We've covered the controversies, the criticism, the various scandals that have surrounded this family. But in this moment, watching these three women be so brave and honest about their losses, all of that other stuff just falls away. Because here's the thing, pregnancy loss doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care about your beliefs, your lifestyle, your family's reputation, or anything else. It's a tragedy that affects women from all walks of life, and when someone is brave enough to share their story, we should listen with compassion. What these sisters did by opening up about their experiences is so important. They're helping to break the silence around pregnancy loss, showing other women that they're not alone in their grief, and demonstrating that it's okay to talk about these painful experiences. I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you, or someone you know, experienced pregnancy loss? How did it affect you? And what did you think about the sisters' decision to share their stories so openly? Let's create a supportive space in the comments where people can share their experiences if they want to. Before we wrap up, I want to acknowledge something that was mentioned in the original reporting about this story. While we're focusing on these women's experiences with pregnancy loss, it's worth noting that this conversation took place against the backdrop of other family controversies, including the serious legal issues involving Josh Duggar. But today, we're putting all of that aside because these three women, Jinger, Jessa, and Joanna, deserve our support and sympathy for what they've been through. Their courage in sharing these deeply personal experiences is helping other women feel less alone in their grief, and that's something beautiful that came out of such painful experiences. The fact that they were willing to sit down together and have this conversation publicly shows incredible strength. It takes real courage to be vulnerable about something so personal, especially when you're in the public eye, and know that people will have opinions about everything you do. As we wrap up today's video, I want you to take a moment to appreciate the women in your life who might have gone through similar experiences. Pregnancy loss is unfortunately more common than many people realize, and chances are someone in your life has dealt with this kind of heartbreak. If you know someone who's experienced pregnancy loss, sometimes the best thing you can do is simply acknowledge their loss and let them know you're there for them. Don't try to fix it or say things like everything happens for a reason. Just be present and supportive. And if you're someone who's experienced pregnancy loss yourself, please know that your grief is valid, no matter how early or late in the pregnancy it occurred. These stories from the Duggar sisters show that you're not alone in this experience, and it's okay to take whatever time you need to heal. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I know it was heavy, but I think it's important that we talk about these real, human experiences that affect so many people. Don't forget to hit that like button if this video meant something to you. Subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. Love you all, and I'll see you next time.